Hello, ladies and gentlemen. A while ago, I uploaded a video on a super easy, super early game iron farm meant for, like your first days. But now it's time to move on. You get a little bit later into the mid game, and it's time to make an upgraded iron farm. So let's get into that. So now that you've gotten out of the early game and you're looking for a little bit more iron production, this right here will produce 1,000 iron per hour. You'll see what we're looking at is still relatively few materials. Right now, probably the most expensive being the couple of slime blocks and soul sand. However, you can scrap this if you don't want the on-off switch. This is unload proof, so there's really no reason to turn it off. And then also a little bit of the nether wood so it doesn't burn. As we showed in the last video, wooden fence gates do burn even though they're not full blocks, so we need a little bit of nether wood for that. The way it works is we have a pillager or a vindicator inside this little chamber right here, which will scare these villagers. We do need either a pillager or a vindicator for this because they have a longer scare radius than the zombies do. So if you were to put a zombie right here in the middle, none of the villagers would be scared by him because they would be outside his radius. If you didn't want to wait on getting a pillager patrol or bringing a vindicator back to your base or worrying about starting a raid and then canceling it, you could just build this same little chamber here with the on-off switch 4 times, just closer to the villagers. One more thing before we get into the technicals of the farm. If you do want to use the pillager so that you can just have one central chamber there, one way that you can get a pillager to be passive so that it can't hit the villagers with its bow is get a villager in a chamber like this so that there's a slab, a bottom half slab in between the villager and the next cell. Get your pillager in there. You can just boat him in there or however you want to trap him in there. And he's just going to keep firing away, and all his arrows are going to hit that slab. Eventually, his bow is going to break, and then he's going to become completely peaceful. However, he'll still be able to scare the villagers. Even though he doesn't have a bow, the villagers will still be terrified of him. You big baby. This is also small enough that it can fit inside of another portal chunk loader. So if you just build a chunk loader, you can fit everything in there. So if you don't want to get into all the technicals of how the farm works, down in the video description there will be a world download of this, as well as a Lightmatica file download, so that you can build this yourself. So iron golem spawning works off of one of the most difficult to manage mobs in the game. One of the scariest ones, one of the biggest pains in the butt in the entire game. The thing that causes most people to quit the game. Villagers. As you may or may not know, villagers spawn iron golems either very slowly through gossip or much quicker when they get scared by something. In this case, we're using a pillager to scare them, and we are scaring 4 separate groups of 3 villagers. If I turn the time to night here, you can see each of those 3 villagers are getting in their beds. Now these little cells are set up so that when they get out of bed, the only place they have that they can go is right at this center block here. And they can't get out of there, they just stay there all day getting scared by your pillager or your zombie should you choose to go that route. Now you need 3 villagers that are in range of each other in order for them to be able to spawn an iron golem. However, if you have more than 3 villagers in that same area, they will still only spawn 1 iron golem. So if you had 723 villagers in this cell right here, you'd still get 1 iron golem. These brown boxes right here that I've now turned on, you can see each of the 4 boxes that are overlapping are centered on one of the sets of villagers. That is the range in which they can detect, hey, do I have a friend or not? Now you'll notice we do actually have some beds inside the overlapping area, but they won't spawn a golem until they wake up and stand right here. And that's when they're going to get down to their 3. So we've got 3 right there, as we can see. There's 3 villagers. So there's 3 villager buddies, 3 over here, 3 over here, 3 over here. We can see if I was to add in a villager, now we got 4 in there. Or if I go time set midnight, now that they're in their beds and those boxes have moved and they're overlapping, they do have additional buddies. However, as soon as they get scared out, their buddies drops back down. So these villager cells are spread out at the ideal amount to be able to see the same pillager, but not keep each other as buddies when they get into the standing position. The next thing we have to be concerned about is the iron golem spawning range. So we need to make sure that they have some spawnable blocks inside their spawning range. And we can see, once again, each of these green boxes that overlaps is the area at which they can spawn an iron golem. So we have these spawning platforms right here down at the bottom. We just have very small spawning platforms right at the bottom because then we're going to push them out immediately. So we're going to remove them. There's no mob cap with iron golems. However, the next thing we can see is the range of the iron golem detection. So if the villagers detect that there's already an iron golem nearby or was one recently, they're not going to spawn an iron golem then because it's within these detection boxes. So that's why we spawn it on this tiny little platform right in water to push it out as fast as possible so that they don't start counting that golem is in the area anymore. And you can see these waterways down here are just outside of that detection range. So this can be built all the way down on the ground. This can be built inside the ground, however you want to do that. But we just got to make sure that they can fall outside the detection range. Once they're outside the detection range, we can take as long as we want to kill them. So that's why we just have this water system with one bit of lava and one hopper, so we have a central item collection. Then you can just flip this switch. It's going to bring the soul sand underneath the water, turn it into Buttable column, and then he's going to start bouncing up and down so that he's at that eyesight of those villagers. And you can see we've already got some golems coming in there. So that's it for this design. If you wanted to see more of that information in your own game about the villager spawn mechanics and their buddies, check out the AI tracker as part of the carpet mod. And again, down in the video description is going to be a link to the world download for this world you see right here, as well as a Lightmatic file that you can build this on your own. Let me know down in the comments if you have questions about this. Otherwise, until next time, have a good one. Bye.